Internal lighting, or in fact any form of artificial lighting, can become extremely distracting in our pictures. For example, this one here, taken by a good friend of mine, wedding photographer Joe Doyle of joephoto.co.uk. We got these high internal sort of integral, should I say, spotlights, can be distracting. You could spend a lot of time sort of cloning them out or using the patch tool to get rid of them. But could we make them more a part of the image? For example, let's take this one here, again the lighting. Just creating a simple brush, we can actually make them more a part of the image. This one, another example. Could we make these sparkle and perhaps even add to the romance of this picture? Let's take a look and find out. We're going to start off by putting in a new empty layer, because the first thing we're going to do is create ourselves a light brush. Black as a foreground colour. Picking up the brush tool, coming into the image. If you right click, you bring up the brush menu. Coming to the top corner, we're going to click on this and we're going to drop down, selecting assorted brushes. It's asking us if we want to replace the current brushes with the assorted ones. Click on that, you'll replace these. Clicking on append and you add it to the list. Scrolling down, this is the one we're after, the 48 sort of cross one. There it is. If I just click off, that removes the menu. Switching off the background layer. What we're going to do now is we're going to use the right hand square bracket, that's the right hand square bracket, to make this brush larger. Something about that area would be pretty good. Clicking down once, in it goes. Right, coming up onto the menu bar, we got this icon here which is for the brush engine. There it is. We're going to come down, we're working on the brush tip shape. We're coming down to this. There's the angle. Clicking on the arrow, we can now swing this around, and we're going to come down to about minus 45 will be pretty good. Doesn't have to be exactly on minus 45. 46 is just as good. But using the right hand square bracket again, just to make this part of the brush a little bit bigger, we're going to click down. Swinging this around to roughly that position there, we're going to look at filling in some of the little blank areas. I'm going to make the brush a bit smaller by using the left hand square bracket on the keyboard. That's the left hand square bracket. That would be pretty good about there. Clicking down like so. Going to swing this round to roughly that sort of region, I would think, to fill in this area. Again, it's entirely up to you. You might want to create several brushes with different sort of effects, but that looks pretty good for now. Let's close this down by clicking on the little cross in the top corner. Away it goes. Right, next thing, we need to set this as a brush preset. To do that, we come to the edit menu, drop down to define brush preset. Clicking on this, it's asking us for a name. We're going to call it lights burst 1, because you might do more than one. Click OK to that. We can now delete this layer. Right, before I do anything else, I'm just going to press H on the keyboard to bring up my hand tool in case I click down again, and we're going to put in a new empty layer. This is where we're going to be painting away. Right, picking up the brush tool, we've already seen the way we can bring up the brush menu, or you can come to the top corner here. If you click on this, there's the brush menu we created, and down the bottom, should I say, there's the brush we created. There it is there. You can see quite a large one, it's 798 pixels. We can just use the slider here to reduce it down in size. That should be pretty good. Let's zoom in using Command or Control Spacebar into the area of the lighting. Right, just lining up the brush over it again, readjusting the brush size, this time using the left hand square bracket. We're going to come into that sort of area there, looks pretty much in keeping. Clicking down with just the brightest part in the center. Now I've got black as a foreground color, which is not the right way to do it. Command Z or Control Z will undo that, pressing X on the keyboard. We've now got white as a foreground color. Clicking down, in it goes. Clicking down again, over the bright area, in pops that one using the spacebar to skip along to the next two. Clicking on that one, and again clicking in this one. We can now zoom out using Option or Alt spacebar, and you can see the way those little sparkles there have already added to the image, just taking the bareness away and making this more part of the picture. But there's more. Coming down, clicking on Effects, Layers, Styles, we can choose Outer Glow. Look at the way that's changed it again. Clicking on the preview on and off, so you can see the way this is added to the image. Let's move this so we can see what's going on, and if we just come down, let's take a look at noise. Perhaps not. You can see the way it gives that gritty effect. Coming to spread. Nope. just created snowflakes. Coming down to size, we can move this up, and you can see the way we can really begin to change things now using size even. But you can even click on this and you can change the color of the lighting from yellow. Perhaps you might want to change it to a cooler lighting, whatever suits the mood of your picture. But we can even click here, which opens the gradient editor. Now with this, if we click on the first one here, which is the foreground to background, you can see the way it changes. You can click on this one again, you can see the way it changes. I don't particularly like that, so we'll move swiftly on. Clicking on the various gradients now, you can see the way that they're all having their own influence on these pictures, coming through, looking at these, just seeing which one works relatively well. I think that one there could be pretty good, or that one. I think we'll go with that one, so let's click OK, because now we can experiment even further. Coming down again to spread, you can see the way that the spreads change from the way we first had it, but I think we'll leave it as is. Coming to size, we can open the size up and get that nice ring of light coming around there. That looks pretty good. I like the way that's working. Again, we can use the opacity. We can just drop the opacity down to blend it in, just choosing that. Let's take a look. There's the preview. Using the sort of the gradient there, that works well, so we're going to click OK to that. Switching it on and off, you can see the difference, and there's the effect as well, so you can see the way the effect changes things as well. Okay, let's zoom in, take a closer look. You can reduce the opacity down just to blend it in a little bit more, be a little bit more subtle if you want to, or just bring it up to the full Monty, entirely up to you. And don't forget, working on this layer, still with the brush selected, perhaps dropping it down in size. You might even want to add a few more, and the effects are taken on again. Right, the other advantage of going to a new empty layer is if you make a mistake, you can just pick up the eraser tool and use the eraser tool to actually get rid of them. Let's come back to this image here, the first one we looked at. Again, we're going to pick up the brush tool. I've still got that, the little light brush, so let's click on here. So layer 1's gone in. We're going to zoom into the image. Still using this one, just increase the size of the brush using the right hand square bracket. Clicking down there, so rather now than sort of having the nuisance of these, you can reduce the size using the left hand square bracket. So as we go further back into the room, let's make it a bit bigger for a larger light there. We can just add little sort of bursts of light to the image, perhaps placing a bigger one in the corner here where that lighting is, that light down there, and just perhaps even just sprinkle a few over the ceiling as such, just to get rid of these and make them a little bit more part of the image. And you can see the way that that adds to the image nicely. Again, the eraser tool just to fade this in there, as it would with the lighting staying behind the part of that door. And there you go. So you can see the way that lighting can really be added to the image, or help to enhance it even. There's our first one. You can see that really does work a treat. Go on, give it a try. Until the next time, happy imaging and take care.